in the back corner when I'm not presenting.
Listening in.
And listen in.
Hey everybody, welcome to Bass University Live here on Tuesday night.
Take a quick break, watch John Cruz's on the Tokyo rig.
Be a part of the show, get some chances to win some awesome prizes.
This Bass you go. You know, we didn't have that back then. And dude, it could just...
That text thread gives me so much energy. I mean, like I'm dialed.
Welcome to Bass University Live. That was the greatest signal that you have ever given me, BTC. Fortunately, you guys didn't get to see that at home, but it was quite spectacular. Yeah, welcome to Bass University Live. So glad that you could be here with us tonight. Really fun show tonight, because some craziness has been going on. The Bass University crew has been out using giant baits and catching giant bass. And it's really cool, and we're going to be talking a lot about it tonight. And why are we going to do that? Because we're celebrating big baits for big giant bass this week. We are launching Brian Thrift's seminar tomorrow, teaching us about how he uses the big giant baits. Obviously one of the greatest anglers on the planet, and one of our best instructors at Bass U. We're going to be releasing his big baits for big bass seminar tomorrow. So to celebrate that, we're going to be talking about catching big bass with big baits, because it's going on right now. And I'm tickled to death to have with me here tonight some guys they're pretty good with it, guys that make baits and do some pretty cool stuff. But we got Keith Thomas from Black Talon Lures. Great to have you with us. And Grae Buck from Major League Fishing, the pro circuit, and winner of the Bassmaster Open on Lake Oneida, where you're not allowed to fish that tournament this year. Grae, I know you're going to be on that trail, but hey, man, thanks for being with us tonight.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, excited to be back.
Yeah, it's good.
Awesome.
Good to have you in studio. Amazing display of lures. We're gonna be diving into that. and Keith,
yes,
you and BTC,
yes, dominated
this weekend at one of our local lakes with some of these big glides.
Yeah, we had a good day.
Good day.
Yeah, it was a good day.
Like a 5.5 pound average. That's a pretty good day.
Yeah, it's good. It should have been more, but that's how it goes with throwing big baits.
Did Brian knock him off with the net?
No, almost.
I actually did try a couple times.
Riz knows what I'm talking about.
Had to test them hooks.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Good hooks, Keith.
Thank you.
What happened?
Brian.
What? Hold on, technical difficulties.
Did you get the net caught in the rods again?
Only on one of the fish.
Yeah, the biggest one.
only on the one.
Yeah, the wrong one.
Why do you keep having
It's
that
a small
trouble?
boat with a lot of rods, a lot of big baits, and a lot of big hooks. And you know how nets are.
You get to
catch everything.
That's right.
It's good net. Well, so you guys, here, if you guys didn't see, it's been all social media and everybody's weighing in. Amazing catch. You guys, it was a 4-fish limit on this lake, local lake here in southeast Pennsylvania. And
that'll remain unnamed. Forgot to mention that beforehand.
The 4 fish for 22+ pounds to win.
Right.
And Grae, I mean, you had 4 for 20.
Yeah. I thought coming in we would have a shot unless Keith caught a giant, and, of course, he caught 2 of them.
2 giants. Yeah. Man, that's what an amazing, it's a great lake. It's got a great gene pool. But
it does.
You guys both used big baits to catch all those fish, didn't you?
Yeah, what was impressive with Grae is he was on trolling motor.
No kidding.
Yeah, I didn't have a boat with a 20 horsepower, so
it's got a 20 horsepower.
I had the Cougar out there, and we're running around the Lawrence Goose, covering some water and doing what we could.
You did pretty good.
Yeah, I was happy with it.
We had the option of running around where he's he didn't have that option.
Right.
We can run the whole lake where he couldn't.
Yeah. If anybody's ever selling a 16-footer with a 20 on there, give me a call.
Yeah.
I'm in the market.
Yeah.
Yeah, that lake needs it. But you, man, you caught. You had 2 7-pound class fish.
Yeah.
And what happened? You dumped one at the boat or something, or what was the other one?
In the morning bite, we had a lot of rain, and they were fired up pretty good. I had these fish marked for a couple days. I run around the lake. I have a glider that I use that doesn't have hooks on it.
Mm-hmm.
It just has enough weight to represent a hook, so it still swims the same. And I just run around the key spots, throw it in there. I pull one up, I rip it out of there, waypoint them, and they'll be there because everything's they're not moving up on beds yet. They're just in holding stages. So they're going to be there for 3, 4, 5 days.
Right.
And they'll be within that 10-foot radius.
Just waiting. Just
waiting.
Just
So,
staging.
yeah.
Feeding.
Yeah. And there's not even that much bait that's up in the shallows right now. So, I mean, I'm throwing gizzard shad imitators, but, I mean, you can go out there with a trout pattern and still it's just an opportunity for him to eat.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
It's got to be a lot of fun. You get to see them. You get to see a lot of the strikes, and we're going to be diving in. We're going to be getting deep in it. So get your questions together if you want to, ask questions about how to use these glide baits, how to trigger strikes, when to pick them up, when to put them down. We're going to be going into all that stuff here at the Tackle Direct Studios for Bass University Live. We've got a great Facebook like and share contest going on. We got a cool gift pack with Rapala, with VMC, a great Bass University rod wrap. So we're going to be giving that away as a Facebook like and share winner. And we also have a grand prize or trivia question that we're going to be asking at the end of the show. So hang in there for that. And, of course, we use your stuff live on the air. We're going to be hooking you guys up, too. Appreciate all you guys being part of the Bass University program. And, hey, guess what? Speaking of Tackle Direct, if you're a subscriber to Bass U TV, check your email. We're going to be releasing a 15% coupon on our Tackle Direct Bass University Tackle Shop over at Tackle Direct. So check your email, guys. That's going to be going on. And we also want to give a shout-out to Bass Boat for Sale. It's the best place on the planet if you're looking to buy a boat, if you're looking to list your boat. It's the place to go. Quality boats, especially if you're looking to purchase one. It's all quality equipment over there at bassboatforsale.com. Check it out. Get your boat listed or get over there and get yourself a boat. It's springtime, and it's the time, in our part of the country, if the ice is gone, everybody's starting to fish. I know a lot of the country, you guys down in Texas, you've been doing this for a while, but we're super psyched. We're just getting geared up and getting out on the water and having a lot of fun doing it. So we got a lot of great stuff that's happening at Bass University Live. If you've not subscribed, 30 days free, go take the free trial. Go check it out. You're going to want to catch Brian Thrift's seminar on big bass. Big baits for big bass, as well as Drew Cook. I want to give him a shout-out because we were talking about that earlier, Grae. Man, he just won, obviously, sight fishing down at Santee Cooper, but gives a seminar this week. Gave this seminar a month, 2 months, maybe more, before the Santee Cooper tournament. And he used all of those components that he gave the goods in the seminar, all that rod shaking strategy, how he did all the bed fishing. Just really, an amazing bed fishing seminar. You got to check it out.
I'm definitely going to be doing that.
Yeah.
I might have some fish coming on beds come here soon for the next tournament down in Pickwick too. And
that's right.
I got to maybe sharpen up my skills here.
Yeah. Well, I know I do. See, that's not fair. It's a bunch of crap. Guys in Florida and Texas, they get to fish for spawning fish for like 6 months out of the year.
Yeah.
What do we get it for, like 2 weeks?
If we're lucky.
They
all come up at once and
they're gone.
It's crazy.
And it's over.
Yep.
So we don't get as much practice. That's our excuse for not doing as well. But Drew, and he talks about he practices it 5 months a year, in his heyday. So so go check that out. Along with so many other great things, we're actually filming this week with Jesse Wiggins. Speaking of spawning fish, it's going to be a really unique topic. I know a lot of you guys fish around lakes that have spotted bass, but Jesse's tackling bed fishing for spawning spotted bass, which Smith Lake is notorious for that. Of course, they're getting tornadoes down there during the shoot. Jeff, hang in there. You're going to be all right. It probably won't be that bad. But yeah, always a lot of great stuff going on at Bass University, and we're glad to be here with you guys live tonight. And and Grae, you and I are going to be fishing the James River, but there's also a big Bassmaster Elite going on this week. I want to give a shout out to Ike and all the boys on the Elite Tournament Trail, because they're going to be fishing Chickamauga. I got to believe that's going to be a spawning tournament. Don't you think?
Yeah. It's going to be right on that tail, edge of it. If they're not going, it's going to be real soon.
It's been warm down there.
Yeah, I was down there once in mid-March, and they just first started pulling up. I was down pre-practice for a middle of May tournament.
Right.
And they were just coming up. So what are we, first week of April? Yeah. They got to be coming.
There's something weird about those lakes. That one in particular is and I've seen this with other lakes. It's got to come up to full pool. Something weird happens. Like those fish are conditioned. Like when the lake comes up to full pool, all of a sudden they crash the banks. So it seems like it's a late spawn on that lake, you know?
Yeah, because when we came in mid-May, there was still a lot of them on beds, and I didn't expect that.
Yeah.
And I went through one pocket that I was catching them when I went down in March. They were all pre-spawners chasing bait around in there. They were spawning on every laydown that was in there. It was pretty wild. But I think the pool is still down pretty far right now. I don't think it's up yet. So that might hold some of them back, like you're saying.
I think it does. 'Cause I remember John Cox goes, and we all thought, oh, it's post-spawn, it's over. And he goes in there and wins, fishing a general and, and a swim jig, for spawning fish, late in the season. So it's going to be kind of late. So then maybe we'll see a pre-spawn tournament still down there with a little bit of spawning going on. But that is notorious for big fish. And I wonder if big baits might play a role in that tournament.
No, I could definitely see it. When I was telling you about that March time I was down there, it was I think 2018 or something.
Mm-hmm.
And I had not gotten into this yet.
Right.
And I wish I would have, because I was throwing a chatterbait back there, and they were chasing these big gizzards. And I saw a bass that was 8, 9, 10 pounds. I don't know how big it was. It was giant.
Yeah.
And if I would have had Keith's donk here, I bet you I could have caught that fish. And
right.
it would have been a lot of fun to throw. It was just one of those secondary points with a bunch of stumps on it. They were staging on, getting ready to move back into there. And they were just feeding.
Yeah. Well, it's funny you say that, because I fished a one open on the Chick, and it was post spawn, and they were on the shad spawn, and I don't have a lot of the big glide baits. I'm kind of I've got a lot of the big boot tails, but I'm kind of getting into the glide bait scenario mainly because Keith gives me one every now and then, and but I remember going through a scenario where they were grouping up on the shad, and I was trying to downsize to make them bite, and I sit here and think with talking about this topic, I would have liked to have upsized more than I did, a little bit, to see if that might have been able to trigger those fish a little bit better, in that shad spawn situation,
Yeah.
But I didn't know Keith back then.
No.
So.
It's all of our downfalls.
Well, it's there's a lot to talk about here. We're going to talk about where and when and how, but I got to, the show and tell is just phenomenal, because I'm looking at a lot of the baits that you have here, and they're just it's funny, because I said, man, look at the size of that one, and Keith's like, man, that's not a big one, But take us through some of the baits and your maybe your design process, what you got going on here.
Well, basically,
this is Black Talon Custom Lures, by the way. And if people want to get these baits, how can they do it?
The only way I'm doing it right now is quiet over there. Is that I just have a Facebook page.
Okay.
As of right now, I'm not really a tech savvy guy, so yeah.
All right.
We're just there. But going to the baits, like my go-to size is. Oh, we're all dying.
All right, guys. Thanks. That was our show
that's
tonight.
it. It's a wrap.
Yeah. What do we got? Fake tornadoes now?
Nuclear test.
I don't know. What is that?
What? Is that what it says?
Yeah, it said something about nuclear test.
Oh, jeez.
Oh, yeah.
Well, hurry up with that. Big baits, catch big bass. Keith Thomas. Thanks, everybody. Roll the dice.
Get to it before the
Man,
camera raise.
you know, just sitting there thinking, man, like
I don't want to be here if this is about to happen. I'm going to somewhere else. You guys ain't pretty enough.
Hey, let me read this. We all got hit with this. A routine test of the Salem Hope Creek Nuclear Generating Station system has been conducted. So this is a routine test that's going on. But this is going on the Ukraine right now.
Oh God!
Right? I just rifled through me right now where, this would be probably followed by bombings and whatever they're dealing with over there. I thought Russia might be moving in on us over here.
Here comes the gamma rays.
Oh man, spooky. But
that was weird.
That was
that was bizarre.
That was super bizarre. But we were talking about your baits.
Right.
Big giant baits. What? Tell me what you got here.
I do make a 12-inch one also.
Hell yeah.
I didn't bring it. I don't know why. I just never grabbed it. This is the 10-inch donk. Probably 90% of the time, this is what I throw.
Mm-hmm.
Like you were touching earlier, like you were maybe should have went to a bigger bait in that one scenario.
Just cycle through to give them a different look. Yep.
There's a reason. I mean, I prefer 10-inch because it has such a great draw. They see it further. It's worth their while if they're going to come eat it, for calories spent and consumed. It's there for the big ones.
Sure.
Right now, springtime, we get a lot of dirty water, as we all know, in the Northeast. So when the water's dirty, I like plain old white. This is just straight up resin right out of the mold. All I do is just glue an eye on it, put a kill dot, hang hooks, make a tail, and this is the one that we're getting bid on. I don't clear coat the white ones because there's a difference between clear coating it and having flat white. It's how the light reflects off of it. So when you have a clear coat, it kind of makes like tighter beams. It doesn't illuminate the water around it white. You have to see it to understand.
Yeah,
it
glows.
It literally glows.
Yeah.
So those fish, they cannot not see it. They see it.
Dude, it's 10 inches long. You're going to see it, man.
Well, there's a difference because when these fish, first start pulling up and like they're sitting 14 feet on a ledge.
Yep.
I'm not sinking that down to them. I only work these maybe 2 foot below surface, if that.
Okay.
So
you're not slow sinking them or waiting them to get down there. You're purposefully keeping them high up in the water column.
Because if I get that fish's attention and make it look up, and if I can get her to come up to it, she has a really good chance of chewing it. If I can make her come up, she's probably going to eat it.
Right.
The big ones don't like to use up all that energy just to turn back around and go home with an empty stomach. So the painted ones, I go more when the water clears up. When we start getting into like mid 50s, closer to 60 degrees, like almost when they're getting on beds, color really does come into play for getting the big ones.
Well, tell me about that. What are the color changes that you make when that starts to happen?
Well, right now, like on our local lake, both ends we have creeks that dump in. There's a lot of shad up in the mouth of the creeks, but this time of year you get one rain, everything's mud. And this is a big visual, so I kind of stay out of there. But right now, the shad have a lot of red in their bellies on our lake, like blood red.
Yep.
Why that is, I don't know. I mean, they always get like a pink or, like a blushy, but they're like blood red bellies.
I can't say I know what that is. If you guys know why that takes place, but I've seen that a lot of times before. So you modify with the show the pink belly.
Yeah, this one is Grae's, but So I put a lot of red or pinks in the belly. You know, when you get in that clear water situation, you're just matching the hatch.
Yep.
You know, but for dirtier water, heavier stain, and it don't matter if it's cloudy or sunny, that raw white, unclear coated white is my moneymaker.
Yeah. Great. Talk to me about, like, when did you start getting into the big baits?
So it was in 2020 during the COVID shutdown.
Yeah.
I started just going to this lake. It was local. I was like, I just need to get out and do some fishing. I didn't know if I could drive down to Maryland at that point to go fish the bay. So I just started going over there and fishing. And I'd seen Keith around before, and he came up to me and started talking to me. He's like, "Oh, you got to throw a glider. Got to throw a glider." I'm like, "What does that mean?" Like,
He's throwing a chatterbait.
yeah. I was catching a lot of them on a jackhammer, like I always do, but not the ones he's telling me he's catching 6-8 pounders. I'm like, yeah, sure he is, whatever. And I picked up one of the gliders, it's a Gancraft, just a one you get at Tackle Direct, I'm sure, or any of those places.
Killer bait.
It was great. Like, I started catching some fish on it, and then Keith took me out, and that's what really kind of made it all start clicking. And I'm watching him throw his donk out there that's 10 inches. You can see how much larger it is than this bait. And he's pulling these fish up, and I'm like, he's actually catching 6 and 8 pounders all the time. It's not just talking about it. It kind of blew my mind. And once I started kind of getting the feel of it, kind of how to throw it, and I like I said, I learned all of it from Keith. He's a great teacher for it, and I caught a 6-pound smallie on that Gancraft the first time we went out, and I was just working it. It felt like my rod was going to get ripped out of my hands when this fish hit, and it was awesome. That's what kind of really got me hooked on and addicted to it. And then Keith made me one of his donks, and now we were talking about it the other day when we were fishing together. I think I'm up to probably 40 fish on that one. And
no kid.
I've caught. I didn't weigh the biggest one. I had a bad scale that day, but I caught one 2 days later that was 688, and this other one dwarfed it. It was 8 pounds all day. I've caught 2-pound smallies on it. I catch it doesn't matter the size. It's so realistic, and those fish just can't resist it that they come up there and eat it. It's a lot of fun, and it's addicting watching those fish. Even if you don't get them to bite it, come up. It's like you're hunting them.
Yeah, it's very interactive, because when we fish these, I don't let these sink down. So we're visually watching that bait the whole time.
Yeah,
so the
that's
strikes
cool.
and it's like a topwire bite.
Yeah.
So addictive. And then when you're catching like 6, 8s, and 9s, it's it's hard to put down this time of year.
Except when they're turning away from it.
Well,
right, and that's a big part of this.
How many fish turn away from your jig? How many fish turn away from your Senko?
None, as far as I can see. That's because I'm obviously you're not looking at it as much, but yeah, it is. It takes a commitment to fish this way.
It does.
Like, you got to put the other rods down.
You have to leave them at home.
Leave them at home.
Leave them at home.
Especially when you're learning it.
Yeah, if
you need to commit to it.
Yeah, and here's like probably the biggest thing is, if you're getting into this game, take all your pre-knowledge of bass fishing with like spinner baits and cranks and throw it out the window and go into this with a clean slate, because there is so many things that is polar opposite of what you would do, because these have drawing power. It's a different game. It's a totally different game. The drawing power is what makes them special.
It's interesting you say that, because Brian Thrifts, I was in, I sat in on a seminar and about big baits, and he fished. He talks about a lake that he fishes tournaments on a bunch. I can't remember the name of the lake, but you can watch it on the seminar. But he started throwing the big baits, the big glides around a particular dock, and a place that where normally 15 pounds maybe was a good bag and would win consistently. The glide showed them like a school of 6-pounders, like 5 to 7s and 8s came out and showed themselves.
Right.
And him and his partner, that after fishing there for 15 years, they never knew fish of that caliber even lived in that lake.
Right.
And that bait can show you those things.
It will. Like I said, like this time of the year, I have a glider where I don't have hooks on it, and that is my search bait. And like I said earlier, I'll go around and I'll hit those key spots where they're going to be pulling up and holding, you know, whether it's rocky points or, you know, trees in the bluffs or whatever, or the right milfoil patch. And I'll throw it over there, and all I got to do is just pull it up. As soon as I see the fish make a rise, I rip the bait out of there, beep, waypoint it, and go to the next one. And that fish will be there for, you know, as long as the weather doesn't blow it out, you know, if it's tranquil, she'll be there for 3-4 days.
Your experience, they'll just sit right there.
Yep.
That's interesting.
Yep. Yeah, this time of year, because our water is 47 to 49.
Yeah.
She ain't going nowhere.
Yeah,
she'll be pretty much in a 10-foot radius of where we waypointed her.
And as we can even prove that day, we went back on a fish that that you missed.
Was easily like an 8-pounder, and I don't know how I didn't get a hook in her. We pulled up, and I told him, I said, this spot, there's not going to be many fish here, but the ones they're big. They're 7s and over. And we pulled up, made a couple casts, got blasted. She had, I still don't understand how they can grab these things and make a turn with it in her mouth, and you lean into her to set the hook, and it comes right out. Because if you just drop this thing next to you, it's stuck in you.
Right.
Right.
Right?
Damn, them hooks are sharp. And they're everywhere.
So,
they catch nets.
So I ripped it out of her mouth.
Rods. Rod tips.
Yeah, rod tips. So I ripped it out of her mouth, and I couldn't, you know, and I told Brian, I was like, we're going to head out of here. We're going to come back, in an hour, I think it was. And as we pulled up, you know, we had her marked by, like, structure off the bank there. And she was literally in the same 3-foot radius. And she came up and smashed it again. And the same thing happened.
That's crazy.
I never got a hook in her. And she was over 8.
Now, I have seen all kinds of hook modifications on these. I've seen rotating. Do any of those baits have the these are a little bit rotating, aren't they?
Yeah, they're swiveled.
They're swiveled.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And the other one is the quad hooks that I've seen on some of these big baits.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that?
I'm not a huge fan of quads.
Yeah.
It's just one more point that you got to punch through bone. I don't know. I'm not a huge fan of it. I know guys that swear by it, and they do land their share. I don't know. The way I see it, I think it's just one more point. You have to punch through something.
Yep. I agree. I agree with you in a lot of that.
If I was to use them, I think I would use them on the rear, because you do get your share of swipers. So I think maybe a quad on the back is one extra point. If you get a swiper, it's one more point that can maybe catch her. But I don't use them.
Yeah, I've seen guys use them. I've seen a lot of guys for the same reason. They actually land more with the treble hook.
Sure.
The one I'm curious, because it's you lose such a high percentage, right? What would you say it is? Like,
what
if you have a 70% strike to catch ratio, you're doing pretty good.
Yeah, you're doing good.
Yeah.
What I mean, other than Sunday, Brian, what do we? I mean, we had some followers, we had a couple swipers, and then that 1/8 swipers. Then that 1 8-pounder, I don't know what the hell happened. Man, she should have been on a hook twice. I mean, she was big girl. She should have had it. I mean, because she had it, and she was actually made the turn with the bait in her mouth and everything. And man, I don't know. But
they come off. You hear it so often, and you also hear that. And the way to land them is you cannot stop.
No.
You got to just keep them coming.
It's all about cranking.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you want to fight a fish, pick up a drop shot rod.
That's true.
It's true.
That is true.
It's true. Because if you're playing these fish out, you're going to lose them.
Well, I mean, how do you budget for the fact that you know when that fish is coming hot and heavy, and you know it's going to come fast, and you know the carpenter is going to tangle the net into the rods? I mean, don't you have to accommodate or account for that?
Yeah, it's called beer.
It happens so fast. I mean, because that's the other thing is,
right.
You got to be so thrilled, right? You know it's a big fish. Brian or whoever the net man is knows it's a big fish, so it's a frantic scene. When
it does get a little frantic, especially with BTC on your boat.
Well, you know, hey, got to keep it interesting.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, just wind them, and I'll be there. Don't worry about me.
You can't stop. I mean, you got to have the right rod. You know, you got to have the right.
So we've got a lot of questions about that. Talk about the rod. Keith, you do something with your line as far as, you know, you go leader and
I go
to braid and
I go
talk about the whole setup.
Well, I'm using a G Loomis swim bait stick. It's 3 to 8 ounces, 8-foot stick. It's a beef stick. It's a stiff one, but I fish a lot of blowdowns, you know, lay down trees.
Right.
You get something that's 8 pounds. That doesn't mean you're going to keep her up at the top of the column. I mean, they can sometimes overpower you. Or if you got branches just below the surface, you want something that's just going to totally overpower her. Big 300 reel. I'm a braid to leader guy, and there's a couple reasons why I do that. Because I can change the sink rates with my gliders through the different leaders. If I want a little bit faster sink rate, I could put fluorocarbon on. If I want to slow it down, I could put mono on. So I have that adjustability. Instead of being spooled up straight fluoro or straight mono, I have that adjustability without actually tinkering with hook sizes or different split rings. I can do like micro adjustments just through, you know, a leader. And with braid, my hookup ratio is better than I feel, and I have a little bit better control over the bait.
But the backlash, braid, pow, gone. Net, come on.
I won't do it.
You won't do
I
it.
won't do it. I'm the opposite. I go straight fluorocarbon.
I pretty much free spool my reels.
Yeah.
So I'm thumbing it the whole time anyhow.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I know. That's a funky thing with braid, especially with a big bait.
I don't rely on breakings. And,
yeah.
Yeah.
But it doesn't happen with the floor. It gives you a little bit of comfort.
Yeah.
You know?
It doesn't have quite the stretch of mono, but it gives you a little bit there.
Yeah.
You know?
I don't know. I like that, especially when they hit so close to the boat half the time. It gives you a little bit more wiggle room, I think, and a little more flexibility to not just rip it completely out of their face.
Yeah.
I mean, I know a lot of guys that, you know, swear just by mono, straight mono. You know, there's a lot of guys that hate fluoro with, you know, gliders. I never had an issue with it.
But you're not bomb casting stuff.
I'm not doing that.
Nah.
So
you fish it at different.
Yeah, I'm picking structure apart with
more like a jig.
Yeah.
Just.
Yeah, I'm, you know, 35 feet on a cast. So.
Neat.
Yeah, I'm picking certain parts of, you know, the area apart, you know, the angles, and presenting it to them the right way is huge. Real huge.
As all fishing is, right?
Right.
Seems like you're using it like a spinner bait. You're using it
pretty much
like a close quarters tool.
I'm literally flipping and pitching gliders the way I. Now there's other lakes where you have to make that longer cast, and you know,
water clarity plays a lot into that.
It has a huge. Yep.
Right. Hang in there, Alex. We'll come right back to you. But all you guys that are watching us over on Facebook, don't forget we've got a like and share contest, and we're going to be giving away a prize for that, as well as a grand prize at the end of the show for trivia. I don't know what the trivia. It's going to be something to do with big giant glide baits. So,
well, maybe not. But it's going to be an absolutely amazing can-do question. That good luck, everybody. Because it's well worth the prize that's coming. So
awesome sauce.
Well, just hang tight. You know, I'm over here doing stuff. I can't see nothing.
The rod I use a favorite rod. It's a 711. It's kind of like a punching rod, but it's got enough parabolic bend to hold this big bait. That it kind of lets me like fire it out there. Because there's times when Keith's talking about picking stuff apart, but if I'm fishing like a grass flat that's got a little bit more area, I'm trying to cover some water, then I like to be able to kind of lob that out there a little bit further.
Right.
And that's where I think I use Seaguard. That fluorocarbon there lets me really fire that out there. This is
what pound test?
It's 20. That's
20.
That's my go-to with it.
I thought for sure. I thought like 25 was like the standard.
I'd throw 16.
16.
Gamma, yeah.
Holy, well, I love Gamma too. Yeah. It's kind of a heavy line, but man, that's a light line for a big bait like this.
I throw 16 on the 10 inches, and then for like the 12-inch donk I make, that's 6.5 ounces. I'll throw 20. Now the only time I'll go higher than that is if I'm in an area, like docks and where you have a lot of pilings or stuff like that. I will
ruckus.
Ruckus.
Why would you want to go so light? Why not go 25 or 30 or 50? Why not go heavier? What is the lighter or thinner diameter line do for you with these big baits?
I have much better control over it. And also I did do the 30-pound fluoro and 25-pound mono. I caught way more in 16.
I got you.
I caught way more in 16.
And I've played with the 25-pound fluoro too, and I really think it keeps your bait that much higher in the water column. Like where Keith was saying, you want it to be a foot to a foot and a half is usually like kind of that sweet spot.
Yeah.
Once you get to that heavier, it just keeps that bait. You got to let it sink a little bit more on the first initial cast of it, and it kind of just wants to keep working up. So if you can keep it just kind of coming horizontal at you, it seems like you get more bites that way. I haven't played with going any lighter than that.
I like 16.
He makes them.
Yep.
I guess occasionally.
Good point. Yeah.
There's a little difference there, I think.
Yeah. The stakes changed. All right, Alex has got his stuff fixed on his end.
I will say this real quick about 16 though. After you catch anything, it's like 5.5 or bigger. Just retie your knot.
Oh yeah.
Just retie it. Just take that extra 5 seconds to retie.
Yeah, retie your leader knot, retie the knot to the lure.
Well, I won't. The leader knot, I won't do that unless it's like over 6.5, 7. I'm not. Yeah, I never.
We caught 2 7s and you didn't change nothing. So
right.
Don't come in here lying. It's my show, son. I'll call you out on the
air. Well, probably because you had me so freaked out with that wonderful net job you got going on.
Come on.
Hey, don't do as I do. Do as I say.
That's right.
Oh my God.
Alex, are you back with us?
I sure hope so, Pete. It sounds a lot better on my end this time. Am I good on your end?
Yeah, we got you loud and clear, buddy. What do you got for us?
So we have a lot of good questions rolling in on YouTube, Facebook, and the message board, but I found one of the better ones in particular that came in a while ago from Paulie B, and he wants to know from both Grae and Keith. He wants to know, how do you guys utilize a glide bait on tidal water? And then let's say Keith goes first. I don't know.
On tidal water? Actually,
yes.
Actually made one just for the
That's
flats.
Right.
Yeah.
Is this guy right here?
Yeah.
This is one of them.
Yeah, that's it. It's a white perch.
And this is a really prevalent bait fish in a lot of the tidal waters that we fish. The white perch. It's got that kind of hunchback and what's been your experience with big glides on the tides?
I'm sorry. What?
Oh, there it is, right there.
Got it. Where we at?
Yep. You can see it's body shaped. It's perfect replica of a white perch, man. It's a nicely done.
Let's go on. For tidal water,
I know we fished the Chesapeake, right? Chesapeake's notorious for having big fish, right? 10-pounders are weighed in tournament. Well, one in the tournament, real close. 9-pounders are infrequently weighed in. There's big ones down there. Have you used these baits around the tides and those fish?
Yeah, I have. Not so much because I literally just got done. I'm actually still currently working on getting the kinks out of them. But I did make that for down there. But I have thrown other ones, that are close to like this one. This my son makes this. It's called a muscle hamster. I make one that's very close to this, and I've done very well down on the flats, like outgoing tide, around eelgrass, in the troughs, depending on what time of the year too. I mean, where you're going to be. Is it pre-spawn, post-spawn, during the spawn? If it's during the spawn, I'm not throwing it.
during the spawn.
Things.
Yeah, well, guys have used big baits during the spawn a lot of times for fish that they can't see because the fish will show themselves to them by coming up and trying to intimidate those fish. Have you been down in the tides using these baits?
I played with it on the Potomac last fall when we were fishing at BFL Regional.
Yeah.
I started throwing one over top of some laydowns when the tide was high, and I pulled some out of them. I couldn't get anything to commit to it, but there's definitely a place to play with it. And I think that pre-spawn, I haven't tried it that time of year.
The only place,
I think that's going to be what it plays.
Yeah, the only place I haven't thrown, and like I'm sitting here thinking, is like in the marinas. I don't know why. I never.
I've tried it down in Florida though with the canals a little bit, and it seems like you should be able to focus like right in that deeper water and get those big females to come up. And I only did it a little bit down at Harris the other couple weeks ago. It just seems like they should all be waiting there for just a nice big meal, like a gold shiner comes by them or whatever, and pick that off.
Yeah, well, you know they do. They definitely do it, and there's that's a great question on tidal water, but it's there's only there's a few places that have fish of that caliber in the tides. The Chesapeake, you got the St. Johns River, which has those real big-bodied fish. So, but it's interesting. I know my experience with the tides are the bigger the tide, the bigger the bait. I always go big. I always go big on the bigger tides.
So what? What do you mean by that? Bigger tides?
It's top secret stuff. We're not talking about tides in this show, Brian. We're talking about
no. What are you talking about? Big tides? You mean like
the higher the tide, the
okay,
bigger the bait.
Okay.
A lot of times, guys get caught finesse fishing on a higher tide, and the bait tends to get lost. The fish can't find it.
Look at you trying to hold info back, Pete.
I didn't hold it back. I was telling you. I'm
that was interesting.
Man.
No, I was thinking like I don't think it's as what do I know? I just kind of started this whole thing, but I don't see it as relevant a bait in tidal water situations. The Delaware's a small bait kind of place, and that 10-pounder was caught on a 4-inch worm, Pete, on the chessie.
All right,
snagged
That's
on
funny.
top of the head.
I caught my biggest bass down there on a finesse bait too.
Yeah, so I don't think it's as important, but like in a lake, a reservoir, that just for some reason that brings them out.
Yeah,
that makes them show themselves.
It does.
They can't help it.
Yeah, they can't help it. Great question, Alex. You got another question for us?
He's got all kinds.
I sure do, Pete. I'm going to go to one that I saw off YouTube here that I really liked. And this one comes in from Joshua Harris. And he wants to know, do you fish the glides with a bow in your line and your rod up a little bit? Or do you do it a different way? And we'll start with Grae on this one and then go to Keith.
Yeah, I like to keep a little bit of a bow. I'm not having it at like 12 o'clock or 11 o'clock. It's usually probably down there at like 9, 10, and just a little bit. And that's what lets that bait really get that side-to-side action. And when you give it that, usually with your reel, it's about a half a turn. And that's where that bait's going to kick, and it'll go kind of real far wide. And then you'll let it kind of pause there, and you'll kick it again with that half turn on that that little bit of slack there. And it'll come back the other way. You can really steer a lot of these baits around, too. And if you see that lay down, you can kind of see where the main trunk is, or you're trying to work it down one of the branches. You can almost steer it exactly where you want it to go, and those fish will be kind of sitting right there, and you can put it right in their mouth almost.
Yeah, I'll drive it around grass clumps.
Yeah.
I'll flip to the backside of like a milfoil clump, and I'll actually steer the bait from the back to around to the front. And then I'll cast to the back of that clump again, and I'll steer around the other side to the front.
Yeah, put it on those high percentage areas.
Yeah,
and
right.
Wherever she's sitting,
hit the shady side. Hit the shady side first, and then go to the other side. But same way, like Grae, I don't like having tight line. My rod tip's slightly up. I like slack because this time of year, either I'm working this bait so slow. I mean, most of these baits, they're about like 1 to 2 inches a second on the sink rate. It's about that pause. You work, you can just, I mean, it's nothing special. It's you just work it side to side, get a little flash going, and it's about the pause. And this time of year, I do it 2 ways. It's either stupid slow with a lot of pauses, like a 3 to 5 second pause, or I'm overworking the bait in very short sporadic sessions where I'm actually cranking on hard and I'm applying rod tip into it. and I'm trying to make that bait fail where it's rolling on its side like a dying shad, which is a massive trigger. But you're doing it very short spurts. Like soon as that bait starts to corkscrew up or corkscrew down, slack your line, let it sit. They're going to hit it on the pause. 99% of the time, they're going to hit this on the pause.
How are you accomplishing that? Like I've seen most of the guys do tutorials like Carl Jacobson. It's all done with the real handle.
Right.
You know, is that how you're doing it too?
90% of it is, you know, I got my rod out slightly up, you know, or pointed straight at, and everything's through the crank. Everything that I'm applying action to is through my crank. Now, there's other ways that you can get them to, you know, the swing wide is like as you crank, you kind of sweep your rod tip, and then you get a good pull with it, and it'll drift off further. I don't care about wide glides on our lakes. I'm hitting certain targets. I don't, you know, unless I'm steering it around something like a blowdown or, you know, a stump, I can drive that bait around it. But I'm not looking for super wide glides.
Right.
Not here.
Grae, you're doing the same thing, right? It's all real handle stuff?
Yeah, no, it's all real handle.
Like, you see it's like it's a half turn, quarter turn, half turn kind of thing?
That was the biggest thing that I didn't understand when I first started doing it on my own. I actually bought, after watching Polinick lose a giant up in Oneida one time on one of those Robo-Made negotiators, I went out and bought one. It was probably like 2013. And the first time I went out there, I actually caught a 2-pounder like right away on it, which I couldn't believe ate that big bait. But when I was trying to work it, I was like, I just for some reason pictured it being like you're twitching your rod, and I couldn't get the bait to really do anything right. And then I started just reeling it, and you kind of saw that natural motion that was in it. And then that's how I started using it. But I was trying to cover water at the time. I was trying to fish it like a spinner bait, like a chatter bait. I didn't realize you needed to go as slow as you did, and that's where I learned a lot from Keith, and I've caught so many fish because of that now.
Yeah. You're fishing at the top level. How are you incorporating this into your tournament game?
Yeah, so the biggest example I have of catching them on this in a tournament was down at Pickwick last year in the fall for that Toyota Series Championship. I'd figured out a decent pattern to catch a limit, and I was going to hope to have 10 to 12 pounds doing it. I was throwing spinnerbait, catching them out of some hydrilla that had a ton of bait in there. And we had 4 days of practice for this one. In the last 5 hours, I'm like, I just need to tie it on and just really see what I can do. I went to a completely different section of the lake, and I started rolling this around on some riprap, and I caught a 4.5 pounder pretty quick. So I was like, all right, well, we're just going to do this the rest of the day and see what happens. I pulled up 4 other ones off different sections of riprap just all throughout the creek I was in. And I was like, well, I'm not going down there to try to catch 12 pounds in 5. I'm going to go try to catch 15 with 3 of them. And I didn't know if I could get 5 bites doing it in a day. And it turned out I couldn't, but I figured out first thing in the morning, these gizzard shad would get tight to that bank, and I would catch 2 each morning on this right away. They were like bigger than average fish for that time of year down there. They were, I don't know, 3 to 3.5, 4 pounders, like, which was good that week. It was a very tough week down there. And after that, I couldn't keep it going in the afternoon. I think those gizzards pulled off that riprap and that rock, and then I had to pick up an A-rig and just kind of fight to go catch a bunch of spotted bass and smallies to get the limit. But I've learned a lot in the last 2 years that I'm going to start playing with it more and more. You can't live and die by it just because point standings is so important. Like, one fish is the difference between making a championship, making a cut, just getting paid that week. So once you can settle in and get a solid limit, I really do think I'll be able to get 1 fish or 2 fish maybe a year that are going to put you over the top and really push you up the standings.
Well, and the more you're out there and the more you're doing it, you're going to learn and recognize those situations or those setups where you need to throw that. Maybe it's just for 2 minutes.
Sure.
You know, but in those key areas.
And I think a lot of it's lake dependent. It's got to have the right bait. Those fish have to be used to eating those bigger than average lures.
So it's more important to have big bait than actually have big fish.
I think so.
For these tools.
Absolutely.
That makes a lot of sense.
Because the little ones, where that big bait is, the little ones eat it too. And
right.
Smallmouth tries to eat it.
Because they're keyed on what the bait that's available is there. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. You know, we catch a lot of small fish on big, giant topwaters and a variety of things. So it's all about the bait. So what have you learned about that? Like, what's your key to, all right, I threw a couple times, or, man, I shouldn't have spent 2 hours. When are you putting this down? What have you learned about that in the tournament game?
Yeah,
you know?
You kind of have to just pay attention to see how they're reacting to the bait, too. Because a lot of times you'll have these fish come up and they'll follow it, they'll dart at it. But there's a lot of times you're just basically taking them for a walk. They come up, they're just kind of moseying along. Like, they're interested in it
taking
just
them
because
for a walk. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's what it looks like. You're taking your dog out for a walk and taking for a stroll. It drives you crazy, especially in a lot of those clearer lakes. I was down at Murray last year, and I couldn't tell you how many big fish I pulled off docks that had no interest in actually eating it, but they really liked how it looked.
You marked them, though.
You can, and that's where I caught a couple fish taking a wacky rig back in the tournament that came off those docks and was able to catch them. And I wouldn't have known they were there if I was just skipping a wacky rig around in practice. So I do use it in practice, I would say, even more so than I use it in a tournament situation.
Right. Well, that you bring up a good point, because I've asked this question a lot, and I'm interested in your answers to it. Is one of the problems when you get those followers when you're taking them for a walk? What's the follow-up choice? Is there have you guys found a way to get those fish to bite when they're not committing?
Yeah.
Have you found one?
It's actually pretty productive.
Is that 15-inch Senko?
No. Triggering following fish. I learned this quite a few years ago. Like your true giants, that I routine. When I see this happen, my bait is here, and like 3 to 4 feet behind, and usually like 3 to 4 feet below. If you got a tracker following your bait, it's a giant. It's an absolute giant. The best trigger I found, a lot of guys, they start really slashing the bait and trying to make the fish trigger on it. I found that actually was like the biggest deterrent for where I fish. It's the simplest thing. I shouldn't be saying this, but I'll do it.
It's Bass University. You have to tell the truth.
I know. If the bass is below it and you're dropping your bait down, don't let the bait drop past the level of the bass.
They don't feed down.
They don't feed down. As it's coming down, when you think, or if you can see it, when the bait is slightly above that bass or in line, never below, the smallest twitch of the handle, just make that bait turn. And now it's almost, I don't know the exact reason why, but it's like when those bass ride there, they're in the blind spot of that bait. When you drop it down and it turns, it's like that bass's cover is blown. And so many times that's when they just destroy it. Very few I've had turn away and take off. Usually it's like their cover's blown. They have to make a decision. And a lot of times, if they follow it that far, she's probably going to hit it.
What if she doesn't? What is there?
It's over.
It's over.
It's over.
No options.
Not
you
really.
Can't drop a drop shot or
a
Ned rig. You're the Ned.
A follow-up bait. Going to the follow-up bait. One of my favorite follow-up bait is a white tube.
And
a regurgitated shad.
And that'll get them sometimes.
Absolutely.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Have you experienced that?
I haven't been able to get any of them to bite after they just start tracking it. I need the
especially
that are hungry.
The truth comes out.
If she pulled, here's the difference. It's hard with a follow-up bait if you're pulling them off of bluff walls because you don't know what she came off of. But if we're in the grass or a flat and there was a clump of weeds and she came out of there and started tracking it, or a stump or a piece of hard structure, just drop your rod, pick up that. I use a white tube a lot, and drop that up ahead of her where she's going back to.
Right.
And there's quite a few times where they'll they'll eat that.
Trivia question for you, Pete. How many white tubes did Keith have tied on the front deck at this tournament this past weekend?
Didn't need them.
You're right, we didn't.
Yeah. He's fishing without a net, man.
Without a net, man. This is true.
It was like taking a 5-year-old for the first time.
Which leads to the bigger question.
Sorry, Brian.
Can you expand on that? What, like, did he throw temper tantrums?
No, it was just.
What's a day? What's a tournament day like with?
Well,
BTC?
ask me to go fishing, Pete, and maybe you'll find out.
Laugh your
I
ass
did
off
this weekend. I just asked you.
Yeah, hey, I'm at the ramp. What are you doing? I'm working, Pete.
You got to move fast with me.
I hear you.
Yeah.
What's that like? Is he on time? Does he show up with sandwiches?
Wow.
You know,
sandwiches, yes.
But yeah, you did have sandwiches.
Always.
This was
sometimes,
and it was kind of funny because I knew we were going to win it.
I did too.
Because he showed up
felt that
a half hour before launch.
What?
Usually he pulls in. Launch is at 7 a.m. this
Beer
time of year.
cans rolling out of the
Wow. Usually he's pulling in at 6:58.
6:58. Not a minute wasted. Peter, don't.
Yeah.
Come on.
We're boat 3 and they're calling out boat 20.
Pete can't bust my balls on that one.
So yeah, he came in like a half hour early and I was like, we're gonna win it today, man.
Oh man, that's cool.
Yeah.
So you're a half hour early. You're like, you got rain, you got weather.
Yeah.
And it's cold.
Yeah, it was cold.
Right?
It was raw. It was damp.
And
it wasn't so much like freezing cold temps. It was raw.
Wet.
Yeah, it was wet.
Yeah.
It was
But
cold.
so you guys came out of the boat the day swing because you guys started catching them right away.
Right
At least that's the story that I thought I heard Brian talk about. You guys
first spot. Yeah.
First spot.
Yeah, we had like 4.5?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
And like 5-10 minutes or whatever.
Yeah.
7:12.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The picture on my phone said 7:12.
Yeah.
The guys out in California right now are like 4 pounds, 7 pounds. You guys are fishing for guppies.
Yeah. Yeah, well, you know what? Here's the thing.
Here's the thing.
Here's the thing. The guys that live down south haven't made. Those fish down there grow. I mean, like
they
Texas,
just jump in the boat.
Well, no, Texas. No, it's not like that. But Texas has bass that are 10 pounds or 5 years old.
They got 15 pounders. Yeah.
Well, I'm just saying they're like they have bass that are 10 pounds or 5 years old.
Yep.
You'll never see that up here.
Yeah.
Nah.
So like our 10 pounders and 9s and 8s, what are they? 12,
50?
13 years old on pressured lakes.
Yep.
You go out and consistently catch those.
Well,
that are highly educated fish.
It's all relative. It's all relative to your body water. For us, it's giants. Those are
right.
Those are big ones.
Yeah.
So you guys start out. You guys catch them right out of the gate.
Yeah.
Things are going well.
Yeah.
You guys like high fiving, or is he breaking out the sushi?
The sushi from the truck stop.
Yeah.
Nah, I did bring sushi on Pete's boat one time.
Yeah.
First and only time we fished.
Yeah.
But it was all good, dude.
Yeah. I don't know. What do we have? I don't even know. It was.
We had the bag by 10:30. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was before.
I wonder what.
Oh yeah, it was 10:30. That's right.
Yeah, we've seen it. We get a lot of like. Brian fishes, a lot of buddy tournaments, and we often get the update at 12 o'clock in the afternoon, and he's on the highway halfway home.
Never. No. I'm at the bar if the place has one. What the hell do I want to go home for?
I love those.
That's a lie, Peter.
Those are some of my favorite texts. He's so frustrated and pissed off. The fish didn't bite, and he's putting the boat on the trailer.
I don't leave early. Just as a Chesapeake, when you come back, you make the run all the way back to the Northeast, and there's boats everywhere. And it's like, the ship sailed, man. I know enough. It's 12:30, man. And you're still sitting there. It's like, nah.
That's good stuff. Well, so when you guys put those 7 pounders, what were you guys doing? Were you like high fiving? You have special handshakes? Were you hugging each other? What was going on in that boat?
I was just after a while. I'm like, I want to get a freaking bite.
Yeah.
This is cool, Keith. Grae experienced the same thing. For whatever reason, I got one bite to Keith's 4.
It was crazy because you were doing literally the same thing.
With literally the same bait.
So you front-ended him.
Yeah.
And I guided my buddy.
Is that right?
Yeah, I took him out there. We did experience something similar that they were biting first thing in the morning.
First thing, yeah.
We had
in the rain.
The weather changed.
Yep.
Yeah. It did. Yeah, it
we,
was raining
we still had a
bit.
falling barometer in the morning, and then we had a front come through like midday, and then the barometer swung up, and that's when things got weird with the bite. And it's part of the game.
We had just as many fish show themselves.
Right, but they would not.
Right.
The commitment. Right. Yeah.
So, great question, right? I know you talk about barometer. We've talked about it on the show, but weather's
Pete doesn't
huge.
believe in it.
Yeah. You know, it's a bunch of nonsense. But the weather is key, right? Or
it is.
Let me tell you. You tell me what is key. When is all right? I'm out there. The weather. When does the weather say, "Bam! This is it. This is the exact condition that I need to be throwing this bait." What is that
generalized or
condition?
like on like my local lake? I mean, because
take me through both.
All right. Well, they're very similar, but I'm just going to throw a wind direction in for the one.
Okay.
Falling barometer pre-front. On my lake, southwest wind with a falling barometer.
Okay.
Is this
Do you
time
have to have wind? If it goes slick, are you putting these away?
No. You can still pull them up.
They're just going to lose that day. Sticking with it. Yeah. Right? Never give up.
So wind is a big factor.
Huge factor.
Okay.
Yeah.
What about and falling barometer? Huge factor.
Yeah.
Low you guys had rain. Obviously that.
Yep.
That's the right condition.
It was raining with a dropping barometer, and I think it was going in. It was going from like 29.8 to 29.7. It was falling, not crashing, but it was still falling, and we had a lot of action in the morning. Like fish actually committed to like trying to kill your glider, and then once that front came through and the wind direction, changed from literally a 180, and the barometer started going up. The fish behavior was night and day different.
Right.
Yeah, it's pretty predictable. I mean, you can still kind of get, but it's so tough.
Sure.
But it's hard to put it down because when you're watching 8-pounders coming up, and they're either boiling below it, like without committing to the lure. It's like it's weirdest thing. Like a lot of times they'll do this turn like a 1.5 feet below your glider, and you don't understand why they did it, but. It's like, why go through all that energy not to touch it? I don't get it.
Just to upset you.
Yeah, or you get the followers, and they just follow it for like 5 feet, and then they're like, eh.
Yep.
Yeah, it's bizarre.
Right.
Yeah.
So there it is. Well, falling barometer is usually indicative of a overcast, low, those types of conditions, and the rising barometer, generally speaking, a little bit tougher to get them to trigger. So interesting stuff. Alex, what is the biggest glide bait you own?
It's the size of the one that you were supposed to get, Pete. I haven't even taken him to the boat yet.
Oh, you dirty bastard.
That guy right there.
Yeah.
The one that I was supposed to get that's still hiding in BTC's garage.
Ooh. That's right. Play your cards right, you might see it, Pete.
Yeah. Right along with that fishing invitation for you.
Yeah. See what I mean?
Alex, you got some questions for us, buddy?
Yeah, there was a good one that came in from Frank on the message board, and you kind of just answered the first half of his question of, what conditions do you want to try and avoid when throwing a glide bait? But the other half was, is there any cover or structure that you try to avoid when you're throwing a glide bait? So we'll start with Keith here and then go to Grae. What kind of cover or structure do you guys try and avoid with the glide bait, if any?
If it's structure or cover, I'm not avoiding anything. I mean,
Black Death.
Yeah. Well, all right. You guys have that down here.
Yeah.
We don't have that up our way. Yeah. All right. The only thing, like maybe if there's like milfoil that has like a heavy slime all over it, we get that a lot of times after ice out. Some of the milfoil has like that really nasty green. You guys got that Black Death down here.
Yeah, sure.
I'd stay away from that. But
that's why I drive an hour and a half minimum to go fishing now.
That stuff's so nasty.
Each way.
Doesn't matter which direction you're heading.
Don't matter, but hour and a half and stuff starts getting good.
Yeah. Other than that, I mean, slime would be the only thing I would stay away. I mean, honestly. I mean.
No, as long as it still has the bait around it and what they're eating, those fish should still stay there.
I think that's one of the most interesting things said tonight was the fact that, the big bait being present in the body of water, and seeing what goes on at that unnamed lake that we won't talk about, is that presence of big bait. And you look at those big fish, they had stretch marks on their bellies. It was ridiculous. They weren't that long, but they were like this.
Yeah.
And they're, I just feel like they don't move unless it's
when that water
big meal.
Yeah, well, it's crazy. When the water warms up a little bit more, like I said, we're still flirting with like 48, 49 at the most right now.
We had 44.
Well, I know. Yeah. Well, now it's up a little bit, but when that water gets to like 55 degrees, and you start flirting with that 60 degrees, you like mid-lake, we start getting the big gizzard shads start moving up.
Yeah.
And it's kind of funny because you'll pull up to a spot, and you'll see like a gizzard shad laying on top of the water. And the first thing I do, I scoop it up because I want to see the color, I want to see the size, I want to, because I also make baits and I paint off of what I see for that time of the year.
Right.
And you'll see, like if this is a gizzard shad, oh, thank you. You'll see a ring around them of missing scales.
Up to the camera.
Yeah, like you'll see a ring on, like if this is an actual live gizzard shad, you'll see like a ring of missing scales, and what that is the bass don't know when they're full. They only know they're full when they can't swallow something.
Fit it in.
So they'll hit. How about it?
Oh,
we see it too many times. So we'll pull up to a spot, and you'll see gizzard shads laying there, and scoop it up, and you're looking at it for color, and then you'll see that ring. You know you're in the right spot.
Yeah.
You better start casting.
You better start casting, even though they're full, and they can't eat a nut. Cool. They're not like humans.
Yeah.
They don't have that sensor that tells us when we're full. They stop eating when they can't get another thing in there.
Yep.
And I've caught, I had a giant, and she had so many tails sticking out of her gullet. Like, I don't even know how she got what was in there in, and she still hit that glider.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so it's kind of cool.
Yeah, I mean, we've all seen that where you catch a fish that's got a tail sticking out of the belly of somebody.
Oh, no, I mean, we're talking
like
about a stack of pancakes.
Yeah. You guys know what I'm talking about.
But she'll still, stripers, saltwater, same way.
Yeah.
They'll just eat until they can't swallow.
It's about the size of the bait. I remember Ike won on the Potomac River. He won fishing around the gizzards, but in that instance, he opted for the biggest square bill that he could find, because it was, it's all about mimicking, getting the right size. So that's, if you got big bait, no matter what the size of the fish that you're fishing for, you need to try to scale up. Yeah. It's an awesome topic. I want to invite you guys also to watch Oliver Nye, his seminar that he gave us on big swim baits. And here's something interesting that Oliver said. Check this out, and this may impact what you're doing up there. But the true bigs, the truly true bigs, eat the side-by-sides. Oh, like once you start getting, in his world, over 15 pounds, it's the side-by-sides, the like boot tail style, like the Defiance, those big giant baits. It's the really, really bigs have a tendency to be caught better on those baits. Yeah. But the little ones in his world, the 10 to 15 pounders, he catches them on glides all the time. Fascinating stuff.
Yeah, nobody's doing that.
Yeah,
in that area with that. Grae? No,
not too much.
So you were out. You had your bass boat. You didn't have the rig, and you had forward-facing sonar.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to hear a little bit about, because you're just learning. You're really just learning the big bait thing, kind of now.
Yeah, and I've done the forward-facing sonar for the last probably 3 now, and I've got that pretty dialed in out deeper. But when I'm doing this, the first time I ever watched one eat this, it was purely accidental. It was down at Pickwick, first morning of the tournament, and I was just kind of paralleling this riprap, and I'm working it down. I just happened to look down for whatever reason at my Lowrance there, and I go, oh, cool, look, my bait. It's like this big ball. It's real bright, just like you would think a fish would look. And I turned it like one more time, and I go, there's another bait ball behind it. I turned it one more time, and I watched it. Those two come together, and my rod just loaded up. And it was
cool.
Really cool. And I don't try to line up on it all that often like I would with the jerk bait when I'm seeing those fish that are suspended, because it seems like a lot of the fish that are eating these come from the bottom.
Yep.
And like Keith was saying, they feed up. So it's hard to see them because they're either on like a ledgy, bluffy area that if you've used the forward-facing sonar, it's like real kind of staggered looking, so it's hard to differentiate the bottom from a fish. Or when we're in the milfoil, those fish are down in there. But on, what was it, Sunday we were fishing, it was again one of those times I was just kind of scanning around. I was just trying to see if there's any life in this milfoil just in general. And I'm watching my bait. I saw it, and I just, for whatever reason, stayed on it that time. And I watched another one come up, and I watched it, what I thought ate it, and I set the hook based off like what I was seeing, not what I was feeling. I pulled it too soon. Yeah. Essentially is what happened. Yeah. Like the fish was definitely on it for half a second, but it never had a hook in it. So we just kind of power pulled down there, and we kept casting into this milfoil patch. And my buddy Brian caught our big one of the day, which was 590, and it took him probably 5 casts.
Minimum.
So yeah, not Keith level, but we do what we can with our trolls. Right. But you can learn so much with that forward-facing sonar, even if you're not actively targeting those fish to catch on the bait. You learn where they're sitting up. You can see where the thinner areas are, so it gives you a little bit of an advantage that way.
Right.
Because right now the milfoil is only 2 foot tall. A lot of places it's under the surface. It's sitting in 5-6 foot.
Right. There's a lot to be learned there, especially with these baits and forward facing. It's a great question though, BTC.
Oh, well, thank you. That was something. But let's go to our man Alex. What do you say?
Alex, what do you got for us?
Let's do it. Before I get to this next question, I did want to remind everyone, we still have that Facebook like and share going. So go over to Facebook, like and share the feed. You'll be entered for a chance to win a $50 sponsored prize pack gift bonanza from the Bass University sponsors. But the question we're going to go to is on YouTube. And there's a couple people commenting on this, and it really got me thinking. South Jersey Fisherman 028 was the one that sent it in originally. He wanted to know if Keith or Grae had noticed any difference in the bite related to the moon phase for the big baits. Have you guys noticed a difference in that? Well, I think I'll start with Grae on this one and then go to Keith.
I don't know if I've done it long enough to really say I could pick up on anything.
Pete wants to weigh in on moon phase.
Maybe more so that they feed when it's full at night more so. So you're not getting those bites. The fish are full during the day. Like first thing in the morning, you might be able to get a little bit of a bite going. But I would say that's probably the one thing I've noticed. Other than that, do you have anything with that, Keith?
I hate the full moon.
Okay, well, there you go.
I hate it.
Why do you hate the full moon? What
vampires.
happens? What are you seeing?
Vampires.
Are other than vampires, are they feeding at night?
I would have to say most likely. It's kind of crazy with the moon phases. It's like has the most pull, right? So it's supposed to, like if you watch fish charts and all that with the lunar pulls, and it's like high activity and all that, but it's almost like the polar opposite. And the best way, like with lunar pulls, when you're out there fishing, we just did it yesterday. Listen to the wildlife.
Oh yeah.
When the birds are chirping and squirrels are running around, and or driving there and there's deer out in the field, you might want to cover some water. But like yesterday, for whatever reason, it was so stagnant. Like there was no birds chirping, there was no birds moving, there was nothing going on, and it was tough. But for some reason, full moon, like on our lake, I despise it. I hate it.
Despise it.
What, Brian?
I hate it. Brian, it's the worst.
Who was that was talking about the wildlife, the monkeys, all going crazy down in Florida? Like, do you remember that?
John Cox?
Yeah.
It was, right?
Yeah. Yes, it was John Cox.
Yeah.
Because he was, the day he had the 32-pound bag down at the St. John's, he was in this cove or this cut, and the monkeys were all mating, and they were going nuts up on the bank. And once he heard that, he knew that the bass were going
to
be
he wasn't in America anymore. Where the hell they got monkeys at, dude?
Yeah,
what the hell's going on?
Am I the only one that's trying to figure this out?
Just go with it. It's nothing makes sense anymore.
Monkeys.
Fucking monkeys. Yeah, the monkeys. When the monkeys are spawning.
It's John Cox's world. I'm just living it.
This makes as much sense as everything, dude.
But
like sea monkeys. You remember them?
Yeah. But apparently,
the freaking monkey spawn.
There's some kind of monkey down there, and they were spawning, and so were the big bass. So
this is ridiculous.
And it is ridiculous. And this is why we're going to take a quick commercial break.
Yeah, let's do
and
that.
we're going to come back, and we're going to give away some great prizes. So
hit the message board hard. There's a lot of good questions. We're going to rapid fire through that. Ooh. Alex's mustache is fired up and ready to go. So.
Let's go. We'll do some rapid fires. We'll hook you guys up with some prizes. If you haven't signed up, go over to bassu.tv, 30 days free. Check it out. We'll be right back after this.
View. Seeing is believing.
Why do you love casting fishing rods?
I'm truly losing less fish.
Is the sensitivity of the rod.
That they're made right here in North Carolina in the USA. Strongest, lightest rod, 100% made here in Sanford, North Carolina.
From the drop shot rod to the flipping stick. Every rod has a purpose to it, and I rely on them all the time when I'm out doing a tournament.
Durability in the John Cruz Worming series, the counterbalancing in the handle.
It's the only rod I found that can withstand my hook set. Boom goes the dynamite.
On the water not spent fishing is a moment wasted. That's why Minn Kota and Humminbird have joined forces to bring you the One Boat Network. Products that communicate and integrate to help you take full command of your boat. Born from our commitment to making the most advanced fishing gear even better by making it work together. The One Boat Network will help you find, get to, stay on, and catch more fish. When One Boat Network products talk to each other, they can navigate your boat automatically. They can give you a crystal clear view of what's below with no messy wires. And they can let you lower, raise, and change shallow water anchor modes from anywhere on the boat. But that's just the beginning. We're never done innovating, integrating, and making your boat simpler and easier to control. All so you can make every second on the water count.
Aquaview, the leader in underwater viewing technology. Find what you are looking for. Catch more fish. Have more fun. Aquaview. Seeing is believing.
Why do you love casting fishing rods?
And we're back, Peter.
And we are back to Bass University Live. Welcome back, everybody. Really cool show. We're talking about big, giant baits, big bass, big baits.
Big mustaches.
Big mustaches.
That's right.
Handlebars.
Nobody is Ike still wearing his handlebar?
I don't know.
I hadn't seen him. I seen some social media. He's looking pretty handlebar-y.
I heard he might have caught a double digit.
Ooh.
Maybe.
Yeah, hopefully it didn't burn that bridge down there.
Where?
The chick doesn't have as many of those big double digits as it used to.
I don't know. It's just maybe not.
Maybe not. Well, we've got it. We want to do some rapid fire, Alex. I know a lot of people are interested in this topic and want to talk about big baits. And I am the expert, so I want to. I have yet to catch. I have not caught a glide fish. I have yet to catch one. So
let's go, buddy.
It's gonna be happening pretty soon, and I love talking about it.
You got to get on his boat. and watch him catch them.
You know,
I'm sure he'd be better at netting.
Probably will. Probably will.
Yep. But I will not be 30 minutes early.
That's all right.
There you go.
I will be right on time.
Right, no time wasted.
Yes.
No time sitting around at the ramp wasted.
That's right. The big dog shows up last. Alex, I want to send it to you. Let's hit some rapid fire questions, buddy.
Absolutely. So the first one comes in off the message board from Team No Fish. He wants to know, when would you make an adjustment on the fall to trigger bites? He said he saw a video where Keith was adding weight to his bait, and he was wondering what scenarios you would do that in, Keith.
Usually, like if I'm adding weight to my bait, I'm actually adjusting my bait. It's not so much to get it sink down deeper. I really don't fish them deep. I really don't. I have a theory where I want to bring them up. I'm actually adjusting the sink rate, because like the way these are made, like literally a half a gram, 1 gram will make it float or sink. And throughout the day, if the water temperatures change, you know, or get colder or whatever, I'm always adjusting to maintain that sink rate. You know, you can go from one end to the lake to the other where, you know, if you're fishing and it's like 49 degrees and you go up into like the one end, like a big flat, and the water's like 55, you got to make an adjustment, because now the water's warmer, your bait's going to sink a little faster. You know, if you're looking for a really slow sinker. So I don't put weight on to make it go deeper. I just wait to maintain sink rate. So,
great question.
Gotcha. So the next one we'll go to for the rapid fire off of YouTube is from Joshua Harris, and he wants to know, do you always try to bring the glides with the wind or the current? It seems I rarely get bit on them when I'm bringing them against the wind.
Against the wind or with the wind? What's the answer to that question?
Well, it's what bait fish do. Gizzard shad are filter feeders. So majority of the time, your gizzard shad, here's all right. Gizzard shad usually swim into current, because you know they're filtering. But that's not sometimes the best way. Like if you're hitting like I don't really bomb cast much. I'm hitting targets. So I'm always trying to bring the bait, like I have to visualize where that fish is going to be holding on this piece of structure, and I want to bring it to them head first. I actually want the fish to see it coming, which is kind of like against what a lot of people, how they fish it. They want that ambush. They want to be like all of a sudden it's a surprise that there's a big bait next to a fish and it reacts to it. I actually want it to see it, because like big fish, I want them to start lining up on my bait, and they will actually line up on it. They'll move. I watch them, you know, start making that move as the bait is coming to them. So like casting into the wind or it to me, it's not that much of it's, you know, I'm hitting targets.
So wind's not that much of a factor. Except for the fact you gotta have it. You gotta have it.
Well, yeah. Now I'll chase the wind. Like this time of year where the water's cold, and you start getting the surface temps, you know, warming up. I'll chase that wind to where it's blowing on a bank, if it's the right bank. And then what happens, like throughout the day, you know, if you launch your boat and it's 45-degree water, and then, you know, midday it's like 47, that 2 degrees is huge. And what happens when you get the wind blowing the same direction all day, instead of it being 6 inches of, you know, 47, it's pushing on a bank, and that water starts to get warmer water gets pushed down. Now it might be 4 feet later in the day. Makes a big difference. And it doesn't matter if it's on, you know, like a bluff wall with rock or trees or, you know, lay downs, or if it's going on a flat with milfoil. It's the rising temps. And so and it's a give and take. So if you got like a driving wind pushing against a bank, it's pushing warm water somewhere, and it's also pulling up cold water from somewhere else. So that's why we chase the wind. We always try to go where the wind's, you know, stacking it, so to speak.
Great answer. Great question. And Alex, let's keep going. You with me, Alex?
I am now unmuted. There we go, Pete. So another one that came in off the message board from Joe V. He wants to know, in the summertime, does the thermocline come into effect at all when you're throwing these big baits, Grae or Keith?
Joe V.
I don't fish them in the summer enough. So
you know what? I do, not a lot. And if I do, it's more nighttime or first thing in the morning, like the first hour of sunlight or the last hour. And that, I'm hitting the same thing I hit now in the, in the springtime. I'm hitting grass lines, trees. But during the midday, I got other things I throw. It's tough.
It's tougher.
It is.
And that makes sense. And I've heard that through a lot of the seminars that we have at Bass TV. It's tougher to get those reactions in the summertime. It's better in the spring and the fall, the colder water temperatures.
Yep. And well, you also have in the springtime, the right fish are up. And we're mostly going after giant females that have roe that they have to eat to supply nutrients to. So, like, the things in our favor are tremendous,
right,
for throwing these.
Yep.
You have everything's in your favor, really.
They got to eat.
They got to eat.
They got to eat.
They got to eat. Fish got to eat. Great question, Joe V. What do you got next, Alex?
So this question came in off of Facebook from Duke Nave, and he wants to know, is there a specific pre-tournament ice cream that works better for glide baits?
I missed it. He was yelling.
No, I got that one.
Oh, you got it?
We've had some ice cream over the days. Ooh. I used to room with Duke and for the Toyota series.
What are you talking about?
It's all about the Butterfinger and the ice cream.
What?
Butterfinger ice cream. I didn't have it the first day of the Potomac. The first year I fished the Toyotas, had like 10 pounds. Second day I had it, 18.
In the boat?
In the boat. No, you eat it the night before.
Oh, you eat it the night before.
No, you eat it the night before. Yeah, but now I have ice cream before every tournament day. Mint chocolate chip works pretty well. We're pretty sure it's the green. It's like money. That helps you catch a couple extras.
That's awesome.
You can try our secret down there. The James coming up
if
you want. Come over to the house. We'll have a whole tub of it.
All right.
Jeez. Wait, you guys. Never mind.
Brian, don't go there.
Leave it alone.
Leave it alone, Brian.
Good question, Duke.
Great question.
Great question.
Yeah.
Next question.
I like rum raisin. We'll have to give it a try.
I don't know if that catches them or not.
I don't know either. I'll have to give it a try.
Yeah,
Let's hit him with another one, Alex.
So this question is for BTC. It comes off of YouTube from Ryan Brown, and he wants to know, Brian, what was one thing you learned Sunday on the back of the boat with Keith?
Oh, that's a good one.
That is a good one. Oh man, one thing. I learned a lot of things. And actually didn't learn this from Keith as much as I did myself, but I had 2 bites, and I probably could have hooked the first one.
Mm-hmm.
I never saw the fish, but I saw my bait. I could see the bait because it's raw, white. It's got that aura, that halo around it. And it just went, poop, acted a little funky, and it went and pulled, and it was like hung for a second. It was in her mouth.
Mm-hmm.
Like maybe just the hooks or something. Because the second bite I had, and again, it was after the weather changed and the bites got really tough, and you weren't hooking any at that point. Second one I had, same thing, but I leaned into her more and hooked her. So it's just a little subtle thing. Like you feel something, just react on it.
Because they're probably not all
hook
just
sets are
slam
free.
Bites, right?
No.
Sometimes they just probably.
Yesterday, like I said, we were fishing a little bit, and I literally thought I was snagged on a limb. And I'm like, oh. It was a fish. Like, they just came up.
Yeah.
And literally sat there with it.
Yes, that was the same bite I had.
Right.
And I could see the bait. I couldn't see the fish.
Yeah.
And it seems like when they're hitting softer like that, it seems like the swipe to the side.
Yeah.
You seem to get those hooks into the fish better that way.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, good point. As the water warms up, we get a lot of followers. And like in the bluff areas, and we start getting more gizzard shad up and everything. And these fish have a tendency to follow it off the bluff walls. And they'll either hit it halfway to the boat or right at the boat. Like, I'm talking like 5 feet off the side. Now, I don't think they see your boat as like the guy who's holding a rod at the line. You know, they just see it as an obstruction or a turning point for that bait fish. And they will actually, I've caught so many, literally not even a rod's length off. The worst thing you can ever do is set the hook up. If you swing up, and we all do it, and I still do it, because we all get caught up because you're watching this giant fish come up, and then it oh my God, dude, and it crushes it right at the boat, and you get wrapped up in the moment. It's why we do this. So it's it's why we're here. But if you swing up, the chances of you sticking that fish are so slim. You have to sweep.
Sweep to the side.
Yeah. If you got to cross Brian's eyes with your stick, you do it.
I'm good with it, man. Let's go. All right. All right. Let it fly.
Put goggles on.
Power.
Yeah, but sweep the rod. Hook sets are really critical on like how you do it.
Yeah.
Now, and it's also another thing, like watching the bass actually eat that bait and how the bass eats it. If that bass comes up from the belly, we call it the jaw strike. I mean, it's just what we call it. When that bass actually comes up from below and grabs it like that, it's more or less you just reel and lean into them.
Mm-hmm.
If you start like really jacking like Superman hook sets, the hooks are the first thing in that bass's mouth, and they're going to be in the gills, and you don't want to rip the gills out. So and like these are owners. They're so sharp. You don't have to, give it the old Superman swing, rock star,
power
whatever
sweep.
you want to call it.
It's not a jig.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, it's not a jig.
Awesome.
So
great question, by the way. Great answer, BTC. Well done. Well done, Alex. Hit us with a couple more, and then we're going to go give away some prizes. What do you got, Alex?
I keep forgetting to unmute myself, Pete. I'm losing my marbles over here. This one came in off the message board from Nico Dutton, and we kind of had this conversation a little bit while we were feasting on dominoes at the Classic. But Nico wants to know, have any of you ever smacked your partner in the face with one of these glide baits on its way out into the water?
Oh, no. Has that ever happened?
No.
Not yet?
No. Maybe next week with Brian, but
oh, God.
Cat's out of bag.
You fishing next week?
Sure. Why not?
Tomorrow.
Do it before they cut you open on
Might
your shoulder.
see you guys tomorrow.
Good night. I imagine getting hit with the bait would hurt worse than the hooks actually going in.
Well, the bait will numb your skin before the hooks go in, right?
It's
like Novocaine.
Yeah. It's the getting it out.
No, I never got hit. I never hit anybody else. Come close. Actually, you know who almost hit me? Ike.
I believe
He's
that.
a freaking maniac.
Yes,
man.
he is. Yep.
Dude, that thing was like, and I'm like, yo.
Glide bait?
Yeah. Hey, who's throwing the muscle hamster?
The little hamster. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that little thing, you really get it going, man. That thing's going.
On the hook set?
No, casting.
Oh, casting.
Yeah. Hook set, I wouldn't be mine. It's just a rod hit.
Yeah, he about knocked me out one time with a spinner bait.
Dude, he's like,
I remember
it's like right here. It's
like
and I'm like, man, I'm like on top of my trolling motor, I'm like spinning the boat, trying to make him cast the other way.
Well, you got to keep the GoPros running because you know it's happening. Somebody's getting whacked with one of these baits.
I hope not, because that's not good.
I got a top water in the head. I've gotten spinner baits whacked.
Oh, I've been hit by other baits, but not a glider.
I took a rattle trap from a buddy in the back of the head. It opened the hooks up, luckily, but I was bleeding. And
man.
I didn't take him fishing again.
Nah, that was it.
That was a one and done sort of deal.
All right, Alex, let's take one more and let's give away some prizes. What do you got?
That sounds like a plan, Pete. The last one we'll go to is off of YouTube from Joshua Harrison. He wants to know, you guys ever throw the multi-jointed glide baits? And if so, is that more of a summertime thing, or what would be your preferred time of year for those multi-jointers?
If I was throwing the multi-joint, I'm throwing it over grass. That's actually a really good, you don't get the glide. It's more in line, like a snake motion, so to speak. And you can actually work them a little quicker. That'd be something I would be over like flats, like, submerged grass and all that. That's where I would throw that. I do make some like that, but I honestly, I rarely throw them. So
I've done a little bit with it down on the herring lakes. So
I was just going to say.
Murray.
Yes.
Those fish are out there busting, chasing those bluebacks.
Yeah.
And they want something erratic and fast. And that's a great time to throw.
You can cover water with them, too.
Rob Jordan gives a great seminar. He fishes at tournaments and guides down Lake Lanier, Herring Lake. He's a specialist on that. And he talks about the straight line action of those multi-articulated baits, you know, and that's the nature of the herring. The herring runs fast and straight to escape, and that's what those baits are designed to do, is to run, that straight line retrieve. So so go, you can go learn more about that. But the herring lakes seem to be when they shine. I remember when the Bassmasters were down on Lake Murray or Hartwell. I forget what it was, but every single pro had one of those magic swimmers, I think those are called.
The old Sibyl.
They had, everybody had that on because it's a perfect herring a replica. So, but great question, man. Alex, nice job, buddy. You feeded us really well tonight.
Feeded.
That's plural.
Did I just say feeded?
It's much gooder that way.
That's fantastic. Everybody do a shot. Hold on, let me get some tin cup going.
That's
a shot for that
That's
one.
that Rutgers University education at work, right there.
That was beautiful, Pete.
Sorry, Rutgers, but thank you, Alex. I appreciate you with all the great questions.
I got one. I saw this earlier on the message board like an hour or 2 hours ago. And guy asked, in a tournament situation, right? And we just came off of that. Do you go with both guys throwing a glide bait or one guy throwing search baits and another?
That's a great question.
It's a great question. We just, kind of never really got to it. I don't know who asked it, but great question, anonymous person.
I think the only time you pick up, have both guys throwing a glide bait is if you're actually catching them on a glide bait.
Yeah, yep.
I mean,
and if you have the limit already.
Well, that was what I was going to say, and that we were talking a little earlier. I don't see, like, to throw these in a tournament, like a local tournament.
Yeah,
right, whatever.
One day or
right.
Yeah,
stuff like this
where the fish haven't been pummeled for a week in practice.
All right, so like. Right. Whatever tournament. If you're out there and you don't know what the bite's going to be, why not? Right? Or if you're out there and let's say like an average winning weight of that body of water, let's just say 20 pounds, and you have that, I don't know, by noon or whatever, and you got 2 o'clock weigh-in, why not have somebody? And then recognizing, like, if you were pre-fishing where you pulled up bigger fish, go hit those spots. Go replicate those spots. What do you got to lose, right? But
or if you got absolutely
on
nothing going on, swing for big fish in the event.
Hang on, here's something weird.
12 o'clock on the boat launch.
A lot of times, like
lies.
A lot of times I'll go out and I always start with a 10-inch, right? And it might be slow. I'm not getting bit. Majority of the guys will actually downsize to maybe like 6.5 or 7.5 or whatever. There's times when you upgrade.
You got to go bigger,
right?
And that's
right.
That's the
hardest
adjustment.
thing.
Yeah,
we were touching on this earlier. For the people getting into this, the biggest mistake that they all do is they take the knowledge of throwing conventional stuff like spinner baits, crank baits, like the tried and trues, what you grew up throwing, and throw that out the window. This is so different. The fish react to it totally different, night and day difference. And it hurts a lot of guys, and it really does. Like just touching on something like this, bluffs. How I fish bluffs, I don't pair well. I don't even 45-degree angle. I cast straight to that, and I bring it straight out. And I'll smoke you every time doing it.
Interesting.
But now if you're throwing a jerkbait or, or a square bill or something like that, you want to have your boat up against that.
Yeah.
Or close.
So you're because you're keeping it in the strike zone longer by being 45 or being parallel. You're not trying to do that. You're trying to draw them up.
I'm trying to draw them out.
Draw them out.
Yeah, it's actually. I know a lot of guys don't understand this, and I proved it too many times.
Yeah, I got a follow-up question. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Well, I'm just saying, I am casting, and that's right. I mean, I am throwing it right to that wall, and I'm 90 degrees straight out. I don't angle it or nothing. How about when we were out?
No, the first time we ever did that, I was like, this is wrong. I don't know what we're doing. And then
that's what I'm saying. Take what you know and throw it out the window. This is totally
and the
different.
guy in the back of the boat's out there off the intercontinental shelf. You know what I mean? In 180 foot of water.
That's his problem.
Looks good, Keith.
Now, when these
holding the net.
Let's get the net and the sandwich. I'll be back here.
Talk to me now. These are obviously a big bait, and it occurs to me as you're throwing at the bluff or at the target.
Right.
You're gonna be making a monster commotion when that bait hits the water.
No.
Do you do?
I can feather this bait in where it makes a ripple.
So you're hyper conscious of its entry.
The only time I actually drop these baits in to make an actual commotion is like a steeper drop, not so much a bluff, but like a steeper drop, like 30 feet out, 30 feet of water. And if those fish are like sitting on a ledge at like 10 to 15 foot, I will drop it literally right above their head. It might only be 8 feet off that bank. And I will purposely
slap it,
make a slap. And those fish go,
right,
what's that? And then, I might do a couple really crazy hard, cranks on it. And the thing is, if those fish are 15 feet below and they're looking at something that's 3/4 of an inch wide, that's kind of hard to see. And in the springtime, you get a lot of, stained water, might be a little cloudy, dirty, whatever. When I crank, and I'm hard, and I'm trying to make the bait fail, and I make it corkscrew. So now it slaps the water, those fish look up, and then all of a sudden the bait does this.
Yeah.
Massive trigger.
Right. All right. When you don't want it to do that, what are some tips to feather that bait in for a quiet splash?
Just like you do with a jig. Just like flipping and pitching.
Right.
Same thing. It's just bigger.
Just give it that little pickup right before it hits the water.
Right.
You're shooting it low to the water, fast, and then you stop it with your thumb and you bow the rod just a little bit.
Gotcha.
And it just goes bloop,
bloop,
low ripple.
Very nice.
Yeah. See, now I always go for the.
He is.
I always go for that loud
5-year-old
splash.
kid. He's the 5-year-old kid falling off a boat with his gliders. I'm like,
and it's always happening right on top of where you're working.
Oh yeah,
right?
Sorry about that. Sorry again. I'm in the back of the boat on the backhand.
I'm shooting my gliders up, and he's sitting there doing like this gigantic arch
on the backhand.
He's like, that's my shoulder. I can't do that.
Yeah, well, Doctor said.
Yeah. I love it. Hey, that's great stuff. That's really key stuff that we didn't get to talk about. I'm glad that popped up with the question. Yeah. We have a trivia question, right? This is from the mind of Ken Duke. What do you got for us?
We do.
B?
Ooh,
yeah.
The Duke, man.
Talk to
me.
All
right, hold on. Okay, so the very first double-digit bass caught in a bass event was caught on what? We're going to start with that. I got some more clues because I think it's going to be a tough one. It's well worth it. Somebody hold up Vanna White that.
Well,
that bait.
I mean, if you're, we're talking about big swim baits, right? So I would assume that that's going to be one of the answers.
You might assume that.
All right. You're sneaking us? Trick question?
I mean, it's the first double-digit
bass.
The
first double-digit bass.
In a Bassmaster event. Was caught on what bait?
What year was it?
Well, we haven't gotten quite there yet, Pete. I want to let the people, register some
I want to
guesses.
Yeah, I want to guess.
Alex is hard at work on the board.
Good one to win.
It was not at Lake Mead at the first Bassmaster Classic because I don't think they have 10-pounders there. I don't think they ever had 10-pounders there.
What? No, this was.
I wonder where it was.
A few years into it.
Yeah, it could have been. I'm thinking
Florida, probably.
Florida.
It clearly could have been Florida. It could have been Eufaula.
Yeah.
Or Seminole.
Seminoles.
He's got to meet Ken at the Classic.
Yeah.
And he's almost going to send him his contact info any minute now.
I know. Nice call, Alan.
Yeah.
Thanks.
I brought his name up when we were driving down, Ken.
Yeah.
Keith's like, oh, I got to get it back to him.
Things been a little hectic, man.
I understand, buddy.
Yeah,
I know.
We've been fishing every day.
Well,
I
winning tournaments.
I have a guess, and before we give the answer, I want to guess at what bait it was. So
you got it.
Before you give that away, what?
I want to say I've never heard of it.
Oh no, then I don't have the right answer.
Yeah, it's a tough one.
Yeah.
Alex, how we doing over there? What are you saying? Anything even remotely close?
We're getting in the ballpark. There's a lot of people just saying generic bait types and things like that. But guys, we're looking for the specifics. So, let's say you could say Rapala DT8. You could say, the Pop R, things like that. We need the specific bait and the brand. Some combination of those two will get you the win. There's guys in the ballpark, but we're not quite on the field yet.
All right, I'm gonna go ahead and say 1973, Florida Invitational.
You guys were right on Florida.
As the next clue.
1973, Florida Invitational.
I think that's 5 years into Bassmaster, according to the mind of Ken.
They didn't have chatterbaits yet.
Yeah.
They might have.
And I you know what I'm thinking of, and I don't. This was too late, but I'll never forget. Nobody will ever forget is the Bassmaster, the Mega Bucks, Larry Nixon, amazing fish catch in the lily pads, where that giant fish.
Yeah, Harris Kane.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
in that Party Cove where everybody
right on the island,
where everybody did good this year.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
How about that?
I've tried fishing that spot every time I've gone there.
It was lit up this year for the elites and for the MLFs that went there after.
Yeah, those guys still got them. I started practice there. I was like, I gotta check it. And I spent about 2 hours. It was raining and it wasn't happening. I'm like, I'm out of here. I'm not dealing with a group of people anyway.
Yeah, I think,
moved on.
Was he in Little Hair? And anyway, you never forget that that classic Bassmaster music and Larry putting his rod down, trying to keep that fish from jumping. And
it's like a 12-pounder, wasn't it?
I don't know that it was that big, but it was huge.
Yeah.
And I remember him saying something to the effective like, "It can't be that big," or did you see the size of that fish? Something crazy like that, in the moment. With one of them, it seemed like a pistol grip rod.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think he got him on a worm. Of course, that's all he ever, or that's his.
Them pistol
claim to
grips
fame.
were terrible for your wrists. Terrible.
I interviewed Hank at the Classic, man. He's got a whole series of pistol grips. And,
for what though?
Well, for spinnerbait fishing and close quarters.
Oh.
Yeah.
Flipping.
Oh man.
Flipping docks.
Yeah. It's just getting that rod handle. He described it. Getting that rod handle out of the way allows much better casting accuracy, less rod fatigue.
Does he choke up on the hook set?
Like
Pete Rose?
I don't know. But
well,
that was great.
While you guys were having that conversation, we did get lucky enough, and a winner has come across the board here.
Is his name Ken Duke?
Might be his alias. I'm not quite sure, but the winner of the prize tonight is Lee C with the correct answer of the JW Lures Hog Hunter. It was a 13-inch plastic worm, and that reeled in the big bass of that tournament. That was 12 pounds and 13 ounces. Wow. Congratulations, Lee C.
Wow. I did not think somebody would get that. Fantastic job, Lee.
Lee, you said Florida Lake. What body of water? You said Florida Invitational. What body of water? Is it said?
Says St. John's River, Pete.
St. John's River, 12-pounder. Awesome. Great question, Ken Duke. Thank you very much, buddy.
Awesome.
Man, that was really good.
Ken's
really cool. Really cool stuff.
Keith said hi.
I'm going to get a hold of him.
We hope to see you real soon, Mr. Duke. And we have a Facebook like and share contest going on. That last chance, guys. Get over there, like us, share us if you're watching over on Facebook. What do you got, BTC?
There were 8 bass over 10 pounds caught in that tournament.
Wow.
Yeah.
Damn.
Wow.
Including another over 12. And the angler's name, Pete. Any guesses? No.
Is it somebody I might know, or
I don't think so.
Obscure guy?
Bob
Breckenridge.
Tyndale.
Who?
Bob Tyndale.
Bob Tyndale.
Greenfield, Missouri.
No, sir. No, sir.
No.
Before all of our time, but
12-pounder.
I'm glad Ken's out there doing it. And we are going to. Speaking of that, we have Randy Howe coming on Bass University Live in a couple weeks, and we're going to be talking about catching your personal best because he did it twice in 1 week in Texas.
Really?
Louisiana.
It was Louisiana.
Yeah.
My bad. He got. First day he broke it, then the next day he broke it again, his personal best. So we're going to be having him in studio. We're releasing some great instructional stuff from Randy Howe, and look forward to talking to him about that. What do you got?
Well, Brian Thrift kind of started this night off was Brian Thrift's, and we're going to roll out to a little snippet from that, but we released that seminar on Thursday. Is that correct?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
That's going to be released on Thursday. Big bass. Big baits for big bass with Brian. He loves it. I noticed there's a lot of guys that love it. They specialize in it, but they don't use it that much in tournaments. Just a very limited approach. But man, when they're not tournament fishing, they're hunting. Mm-hmm. They're taking these baits and they're hunting, and they just love it.
Yeah.
Well,
who wants to go catch another 3-pounder?
Yeah,
right.
BTC, I think you're turning into one of those guys.
Oh, yeah, got to do something. Midlife crisis stuff. It's either that or getting a convertible Corvette. So.
Ooh, red one.
Glide baits are cheaper.
Can you pick the winner of the Facebook Like and Share?
Sure can't, Pete.
You sure can't. All right, well, we're going to pick that. And
Alex has got it, or we'll get it afterwards.
Okay.
But I got Alex on the screen and stuff.
I do have it ready to roll, Pete. So the winner of the Facebook Like and Share tonight is Mr. Paul Garrett. Paul, congratulations.
Paul Garrett.
DM
Paul Garrett.
with your information, and we'll get you hooked up with your prize back. Thanks to everyone that liked and shared and participated. And we'll be back next Tuesday with the same contest. So don't forget, just do that every show. And you'll be in the running.
Excellent. And
it's Big Sexy.
Oh, is that Big Sexy?
That's Paul Garrett, yeah.
Hey.
Yeah.
I don't know Paul's name. I mean, we just know Big Sexy.
You know his superhero name.
Yeah. That's all we ever said.
What's your superhero name when you and Duke are in the room at night eating ice cream? You guys got names or no? No,
I don't think so.
All right. Duke? Is that his really name? Duke's his name?
Duke.
All right. Sure.
Butterfinger.
100%.
One of you guys is Butterfinger. We're going to be next week, before this gets too out of control, next week we're going to be live from the James River Open, the Bass University house. We're going to be live talking about practice. You're going to hear me gripe and complain about how I'm not getting bit, and I don't know how I'm going to catch them during the tournament. Hopefully not the case. Man, Grae, you're going to be fishing it. We got like 5 75-degree days in a row. Ooh. Not quite, 70 degrees in a row. We have the full moon coming during our tournament, but that doesn't matter. It could, it's setting up to just be a bloodbath down there.
Yeah, it should be a fun one.
Yeah, we're always so dealing with the fronts, battling extreme adverse conditions. This is like a warming spring trend, man. It should be fun.
Yeah, hopefully we don't get some random front come through there that ends up wrecking everything.
Yeah.
It likes to
monsoon.
do that. Yeah, that could be the one too.
That's the one.
Yeah, hopefully the weather holds.
I want to give some thoughts and prayers out to a friend of the show, a friend of mine, Nicholas Bodsford. Works on Bass 365. A lot of you guys may have watched that if you're following the Bass Pro Tour. They cover a lot of stuff over there. And his dad, Ricky's a good friend of Bass University, and me and Mike for a long, long time. And Nicholas finished second place at the James River last year, but had an unfortunate automobile car accident, and is struggling to still recover from that, and won't be fishing this year. But we want to wish him the best and a quick recovery, and hope to see you back out on the water. Nicholas, we're thinking about you. He's a real special kid. I call him a kid. He's an adult now, but I've known him since he was this big, coming to the Bass University events, And I was just talking with his dad today, and just want to give a shout out to Nicholas. Send your prayers his way, guys, and hope to see him out on the water real soon. We're gonna be back next week with Bass University Live from the Open. BTC, is there any unfinished business we have?
We're gonna play this little teaser from Brian Thrift that Rich put together. It's a fantastic seminar. I caught some of this. What was it? January, you guys, something like that.
That's
Filmed
right.
with him. It was pretty phenomenal, and it's funny watching him up there, like cringing as he was. And two of you guys did that tonight, cringing as he was like giving stuff away, and like, I shouldn't be talking about this, but it's Brian Thrift talking about big baits and disagreeing with everything that Keith had to say. So.
Definitely want to check that out. It's going to be launched on Thursday, and we are. Let me pass it on to you guys because I got COVID brain again. Brian, I lost my train of thought. The third show in a row.
We
I
just
can't
have
believe it.
All right.
Yeah, we got
Hat trick.
We get like a quick little shout out to somebody on the lake yesterday.
Yeah, we got to thank Nate Coy. He hooked us up yesterday. We kind of had a little battery malfunction while we were out there.
Okay.
And we were out in a trolling motor lake only, and he let us borrow his little 55-pound thrust to tiller to get us back in.
Yeah.
So we got to thank him a lot.
Yeah, he's
All
a,
right.
a Bass U member too.
Yes, he had his shirt on.
Yes.
He said did he catch his personal
Yeah, he called his
best?
PB too.
No
Right
kidding.
before we had our little mishap.
And I actually messaged him after that. He said he had good fishing karma after that. He caught another big one after we got in there.
Yeah.
So.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so we appreciate what he did.
Yeah, I told him you guys would be out there.
Yeah.
So I'm going to Green Lane tomorrow. So ahead of Keith and Grae.
Well, I remembered what I wanted to say. We're going to be down at the Chickamauga. Bass University is going to be down there. We're going to be doing some filming. We're going to be there. If you're a member of Bass University, come by the Bass University tent. We got something cool for you. And if you haven't signed up, come by too, because we're going to have a really great thing for anybody that signs up to Bass University TV down at Lake Chickamauga. So a lot going on. And wish Mike, Ike, come on. Good luck, man. It's a big fish derby. Wishing you all the best. Ike, go crush them and all the rest. And BTC, thanks for being here, getting us up and running.
It wasn't easy. We're here. We did it.
You did it. Keith, thanks so much. Where people want the baits, what's your Facebook page?
Just Black Talon Custom Lures and good luck.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying.
Or we could give out the address to Brian's garage.
Your money's no good here.
Yeah.
Come on. Tough crowd.
Grae, if people want to follow your trials and tribulations out on tour, how do they do that?
Yeah, it's all Gray Buck Fishing on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. I recap everything I do. So
awesome.
If you want to follow along, that'd be appreciated.
All right. Well, I appreciate it if you didn't finish in front of me down at the James River this year.
Ooh.
And wish you the best of luck, and it's going to be a great season. Thanks, everybody, for watching. We'll see you next week. Bass University TV.
See you guys.
See you.
Pre-spawn. This is my favorite time to throw big baits because that is obviously when most of the big fish in a lake are the shallowest and the most susceptible to being caught. So we'll get into, obviously pre-spawn, those fish are getting up there shallow, they're feeding, they're in the bushes, they're under boat docks, they're setting up on rocky points, they're setting in those transition spots from winter pattern to go get on a bed, and you can really, really target them on specific types of structure. And the specific types of structure I'm talking about are, if you've got a dock that sits on a nice transition bank, on a rocky bank before it flattens out and gets to bushes and stuff in the back of a pocket where they're going to spawn, that dock's going to be a key piece of structure for those big female fish to set up on before they go back and spawn. That's their stopping point. That's where they're going to stop. They're going to set up, and you can have multiple fish there. I've seen times in a pre-spawn where I fire a big glide bait past the dock and you have 3 or 4 6 to 8 pounders come out following that bait. So there could be a group of fish sitting there this time of year. And that is prime time for getting bit on a big bait, because when you create competition, they don't want the other guy to have it. That bass wants it. So you can create that competition amongst them and actually get them to commit a lot better under conditions when they normally wouldn't bite. So going through the when, where, and why first. So rocky points are great places, And I'm not talking about flat rocky points that are typical post-spawn type deals and stuff like that. I don't want something that's going to run way out in the lake and have a big area to fish. So if you can picture the couple different kinds of points. You've got your long, flat, tapering points where I may have, 50 feet of point that runs out, and at 50 feet off the bank it's 5 feet deep. That's not what I'm looking for, because that doesn't give the fish an exact place to ambush. Those big pre-spawn fish, they've got to roam that whole point, so they're not going to be set up there. There's definitely going to be fish there. I'm not saying there's not going to be fish there, but typically your true giants that are going to bite these big baits aren't going to use a piece of structure, a point like that, as well as they will a more 45-degree point or a steeper point where they can really set up there and suspend next to that structure, and they've just got a small zone that is their bite window. So I can make a more accurate cast with that big bait and get that fish to commit a lot better than I can throwing a big bait up on a point. So case in point, if you're talking about a long flat point, I throw this big glide bait all the way to the bank, and I'm setting 60 or 70 feet off the bank in 6 or 7 feet of water, and my bait lands up here in 2 feet of water. The fish may be sitting out here in 4 feet, so he sees this bait coming all the way to him, and he's got a long time to decide whether or not, is that real? Why is this big shad swimming straight at me? And that's going to send up red flags to those big fish. And you don't have that element of surprise, and that's something you have when you target a smaller piece of structure like those 45-degree points where you've got nice rocky outcroppings and got 3 or 4 or 5 feet of water right next to the bank on those points, because those fish can set right up against the bank, and you can bring that bait right by their face without them seeing it from a long ways off. And that little element of surprise will, a lot of times that will help you get that big fish to commit to a big bait, whereas other situations, when they have to follow it and track it, they won't really fully commit to it a lot of times.
And the information